Hello and welcome back to the MLB DFS Slate Breakdown for Tuesday, July 23rd. We are here. We are breaking it down. We got another big slate on the way today, and I think it is going to be a fun one. There are some interesting pitching options, two clearly favorite top pitchers, one which is going to get a lot of ownership. Now, before we get into it, come join us at LineStar, $39.99 per month. Gets you access to everything we do, all the props, all the DFS, and our very new best ball tool that is likely to come out tomorrow. Very least the day after. It is getting very, very close to coming out, and I gotta say that I'm very, very excited about it, and we will definitely do some tutorials and whatnot about that once it's out so you guys understand what's going on with it and how to use it to the best of your ability. Now, let's get into the slate. I think it's an interesting one. We will, as always, start off by the perfect lineups from yesterday on both DraftKings and FanDuel, and then we will jump into the winning lineups, followed by today's pitchers to consider and stacks. All right, Hogan Harris. What the heck was that? You just went absolutely nuts yesterday. The man has never had over 35 points or 37 points on FanDuel and goes for 51. 6.2 innings, 7 Ks, no earned runs. He had 9 base runners on the base pass, though, so he definitely dodged a couple bullets there, but the man got it done. Put up 51. He was super low owned and the perfect lineup pitcher. And we had a 3-man Cincy stack. 2-man Royals. Royals went nuts with Bobby Witt Jr. almost having the cycle. And then we got good old Salvi Perez, who hit a home run and got it done. And then a couple one-offs with Blackman and Teoscar. The winning lineup went to TMDF Ball 12, who won 20K. They had Hunter Green, who was one of the chalkier pitchers, but the guy went nuts. He was a pitcher that we were definitely on. And then his lineup, not what I like to see. It is all one-offs. But he nailed the Bobby Witt, Blackman, and Marte, and with Hunter Green combo, it's really what you needed yesterday. There was, only a couple guys that really had high scores, and getting a couple of them really kind of set you apart yesterday. He did at least have a 2-man stack. Outside of that, all one-offs. And he won by 2 points. Just for the sake, let's see what this guy had. All right, so second place had a 4-man Cleveland stack, a 2-man Arizona stack. Lost by 2 points. Just needed a little bit more from Arizona, frankly. If they could have done a little bit, could have got it. But unfortunately for him, that did not work his way. Now let's get over to DraftKings and the perfect lineup over here. Hunter Green, Hogan Harris, and then all one-offs. We had a 2-man Royals and then one-offs outside of that. With the winning lineup went to Deuces Wild IXI, who actually duped themselves. If we look here, both of the lineups are the exact same. They won by 0.1, but then they also duped themselves for 6th, duped themselves for 9th. I don't know what this person is doing. They definitely, did well yesterday, but just very weird to have 3 duped lineups where they duped themselves in the top 10. So, congrats to them. What a night. Just kind of a wild one. So the winning lineup, Reagans, Hunter Green, 2 pitchers we are definitely on. We got a Colorado stack that went nuts with a 5-man Colorado. They had Salvador Perez and Bobby Witt Jr., so it was the old 5-2-1 which, we talk about over and over and over again as the most profitable lineup construction on DraftKings. Once again, it hit it. They won $70K because they duped themselves for first place there, and then another $3,500 for the 2 6th places and another $2,000 for ninth. So solid night for Deuces. Congrats to you. And let's move it on to today. See what we got here. Starting with pitchers. The highest owned pitcher, Jose Soriano, 22% owned. We got a 3.5 star alert score. Implied runs for 3.1. So definitely in a interesting spot. The game total is only 7 here, so it is expected to be a very low scoring game. Logan Gilbert's on the other side, and that is a big reason why. Logan Gilbert at home has been absolutely great. Soriano has been solid, though. 4.19 FIP over his last 20. His issue is that he just doesn't have a big strikeout upside. Now, Seattle will help a little bit with that with 28% K rate. And, they're just not that great of an offense. They got some pop, they got some power, but it is a lineup full of essentially backup catchers or catchers in general, where any of them can hit a home run, but they're all going to hit, 200 to 240 and can absolutely disappear for games. So Soriano is fine with that in mind. I don't love it. I don't hate it. I just worry about a little bit of upside, but Seattle striking out could be their upside. He did face them 10 days ago, had 5 Ks, got a quality start, got a win, was absolutely usable at a $7,600 price. My issue is just I think it's going to be very hard to have Jose Soriano. I think he's likely a piece that doesn't hurt you having him, but doesn't really help you either. So that is my one worry about him. Don't mind having him in lineups, just don't really want to push him into any extras. Next, Chris Sale, 10.5K, 2.3X. We got a 4.5 star alert score. I absolutely love this spot. You got a guy that's just been insane. 2.34 FIP over his last 20, 1.9 over his last 5. Giant K upside versus a team that likes to strike out. They don't strike out quite as much versus lefties, 22%. However, check out this. Over the last 20 games, they're striking out at 30%. 150 ISO, 282 WOBA, only a 213 average. This is a very, very interesting spot. I'm all on board on the Chris Sale train today. 34% combined K rate is just wild. Big time upside. So like that. Next, we got Garrett Crochet or Crockett. Davy Crockett. This is the thing here. The guy has been pitching amazing. 1.12 FIP over his last 5 games is incredible. 2.39 over his last 20. Also incredible. Huge upside in the strikeout department. There's a lot of good reason to go here. I do have to warn you. 39% less fantasy points away. Lefties hitting 385 WOBA. Or Texas versus lefties, and a 137 ISO. Over the last 20 games, WOBA's 350, ISO's 175. They've been good versus lefties. So with Garrett also being worse away, it is a little bit of a tough spot for him, but this guy is good enough that he can shut down the best offenses. So this is a tough one. I mean, who's going to win this? Is it going to be the pitcher or the hitters? It could go either way. I don't mind having some Garrett in my lineups just because he is absolutely one of the better pitchers on this slate. I just hope his ownership comes in lower. If he is one of the higher pitchers, I'm probably not going to have too much of him. He is showing that right now. Next, Zach Wheeler versus the Minnesota Twins. 318 WOBA, 166 ISO. Wheeler's averaging a little less away, 20% less away. In his 7 away games, 612 fantasy point per game versus almost 22 over his total 15 games. So definitely a little bit worse away than he has been at home. And the thing that I think is interesting about that is he just has less ceiling games as well, and that's really where it comes down to. And then over his last 5 starts, 4.5 FIP. K-rate's still fine. K-rate's still there. Statcast data is fine. He allows a lot of fly balls, but hey, hard contacts at 19%. Soft contacts at 24%. I don't mind some Wheeler. Don't love him. He can always give you a ceiling game. I'm fine going there. Next, we got Logan Gilbert. I'm very interested in Logan Gilbert. He's at home where he pitches better. He has some strikeout upside. He strikes out more guys at home. This Angels offense doesn't scare me that much. And we got a 23% combined K rate at 10K. That is my only worry, is that he just doesn't have the upside as guys like Chris Sale and Garrett Crochet. So do you want to take that upside, or do you want to go with a little bit more of a sure thing, and that is Logan Gilbert, just due to him being at home and versus Angels team that he just went 7 innings against and put up 9 Ks, no earned runs in LA. So now he's at home where he pitches better. Now, it is the second time they've seen him in 10 days, so maybe that changes things a little bit, but all in all, I think Gilbert's in a great spot, and I'm going to be using some of them. Next, Luis Gil is pretty interesting. We have a situation where it seems like he's starting to bounce back a little bit through a few rough starts. The K rate is there. There is upside, but the Mets offense is hot. Also, and the Mets don't strike out a ton. So I don't love the spot for Lou Gil, but I'm fine if a little bit of him pops up in my lineups just because of that upside is there. I mean, he's a guy that we have seen put up, those high 30s, mid 30s scores, and one of those goes a long way. So I'm fine with having some Lou Gil, but definitely not going out of my way to get him. Cooper Criswell in Colorado, he is 5.8K. The fact that he's 5.8K is the only reason I would consider him. He's been decent. FIPS in the low 4. Statcast data is fine. Decent amount of fly balls, but very little hard contact. So I'm fine to go here if you want. However, Colorado is hitting versus righties decently, and I don't mind Colorado stacks today. Jake Bloss, he's a prospect where he is a highly touted prospect, but we just haven't really seen it yet on this level. And the strikeout rate just hasn't quite been there yet. 7.2K, I think he might be a little overpriced, but it is a decent matchup versus Oakland. Next, John Gray. My big time worry about John Gray is just his pitch count. I mean, 4 days ago, he went 1 inning and had 20 pitches in a relief outing, and now he's back to being a starter. And with that being 4 days ago, I don't know if he necessarily has his full run. And as it is, he's been averaging 64 pitches over his last 5 starts. So big time worries about how long they're going to let him go, his leash, and overall upside. I mean, over his last 5 starts, he has a 9% K rate. He has a 20% K rate over his last 20, though. I have a real hard time signing off on this one. Is there a chance that he does it? Yes. Is it a good chance? With the data we have and the weirdness with his spot and what he's been doing lately, I would say it's not a very good chance. So I don't love John Gray. Jose Barrios. Barrios is an interesting one. I do like the spot. Rays are striking out a lot. They haven't been great versus righty. Barrios has been good versus Tampa Bay. He's averaging 41% more at home, but 5.15 FIP over his last 20. 6.8 over his last 5. Now, this is a guy that when he's on, he has solid ceiling at 8.1K. So for that reason, I am okay with having some of him in my lineup if I want to pay down a little bit in a spot, there is the possibility in this matchup that he does well. He has done it before versus Tampa Bay. He started the season off 6 innings, 2 runs, 6 Ks. Last year, he had 2 good starts for versus them. He could definitely do it again. I just don't know if he's going to have a ceiling game versus them, and that's really what we don't want. And it's a lot of risk if he doesn't have a ceiling. Colin Ray, I want to bring up here because he's been good lately, but he is averaging 46% less fantasy points while away. The Cubs strike out a lot. It is a decent spot here for Colin Ray, but we do have like 8-mile-an-hour winds blowing out, and it's warm in Wrigley, which we know that means more hitting. So I think this is a tough spot for Colin Ray, and I don't mind playing either side of this matchup a little bit, as I think Ray does have some upside from what we've seen lately, and he's only 7.4K. We got him at 2.2X. But if I'm playing him, I want to hedge a little bit and have some Cub stacks. Jameson Taillon, the guy started pitching well. So over his last 5, 3.41 FIP, 26% K rate. Over his last 20, 3.92 FIP, 19.7% K rate. StatCast data is a little worrisome, especially when we have that wind blowing out and it's warmer in Wrigley today. I could see this one going either way. Don't mind some Taillon, but not going over my way to get him. But I definitely want to bring up that he's averaging 41% more fantasy points while home. This game's at home. He's been pitching good. He's been in better form. I think it is a little bit interesting. I just don't know if I can click the button. Everybody else here I'm not too excited about. I do have to bring up the fact that Jordan Montgomery is super cheap. He's coming back from the IL. He threw it was a bullpen game. 3 days ago, threw a bullpen game, 56 pitches, or a simulated game, I mean. So I think you can expect 75, 80 pitches out of him today. I doubt they're going to let him go full on. That's about what he's been for his starts anyways. So if you think he can bounce back, have a good performance, then go there. If you think he's going to kind of just be who he has been all season, then stacking against him becomes pretty interesting. Now let's go over to FanDuel, see what we got over there for pitchers. And highest owned, Chris Sale, as he should be. Second highest, Logan Gilbert, as I believe he should be the second highest. Then we got Lou Gill, 9% owned, 9.8K, in a tough spot. And good old Garrett at 10.4K, 3-star alert score, 9% owned. I think at low ownership, he is very interesting. He has the upside that Chris Sale does. So for that reason, I'm definitely intrigued. Zach Wheeler, 10.6K. He doesn't have quite that same type of upside, but he can definitely get it done. He just has to work deeper into games to be able to show that same kind of upside, but definitely a bit intrigued there as well. And then on FanDuel, I mean, with pricing being so soft, I really don't feel a need to try and go to any of these mid-range guys. And they just don't have the upside. So I'm probably not getting too wild pitching-wise on DraftKings. It's most likely one of these top 5, maybe 6 guys with Soriano getting a couple, but really not looking to push Soriano in there too hard. Now, getting over to the stack attacks with DraftKings. And our highest ceiling plays of the day. Would be very surprised if Boston Royals aren't in there, but who knows? And our highest ceiling stacks of the day. First, we got Oakland versus Jake Bloss. Hey, he's a prospect. He hasn't been terrible, but he hasn't been great. 4.16 FIP. Oakland's been hot, so I don't mind stacking with them. Cincinnati, I really don't love to stack Chris Sale has been way too good this year. However, there is big-time leverage with them being high-owned. So I'm definitely a little bit intrigued with Cincy. Philadelphia, hey, it's been a hot lineup, and Woods Richardson has been good, but not great. Don't mind it. Just keeping with hot bats is fine for me. Now, let's get over to the highest owned stacks and see what we got there. All right, we got Boston. No surprise they are the highest owned stack. It is only 52%, though. We got 11-game slate. So definitely do not fade them just because of ownership. 52% is just way too low for a 5-man stack with such upside to really be fading it due to ownership. Ty Block, 5.53 FIP over his last 20, 9.45 over his last 5. A lot of reasons to like Boston today. With that being said, you got to also like Colorado. Similar hitting conditions. The game is almost a pick 'em. Colorado is plus 130, so it's not like they're huge underdogs. And I think Colorado absolutely could win this game. It's not like either pitchers are that great. Boston is also the highest projected stacks. So with that, having us have the highest projected, them being the highest owned, I would expect 50% to be a little low for their ownership. However, the ones that are popping up as the highest projected are just insanely priced. You're going to be able to find some lower ones, 24.9% owned, a little, or 24.9K, 42% owned. These are kind of the stacks that I would probably be going after for Boston. A little cheaper and a little less owned. But what I was going to say, with them being both our highest projected and highest owned, I imagine this ownership will end up being a little bit higher than it is currently showing. Now let's check our value stacks. Gotta expect that Oakland's going to pop up here a little bit. Wouldn't be surprised if the White Sox do a little bit as well, as John Gray hasn't been great. He might have a short leash, and the bullpen behind him is terrible. So Oakland is popping up. We like that one. Toronto versus Sean Armstrong is popping up. I believe Armstrong is just an opener. Not 100% sure on that one, though, as I can't click his little thing right there, but we can check on that in a second. And that's all that's popping up there. So let's click on the teams situation. So our highest implied total, 6.1 Boston, 5.4 Colorado. Those are two clear stacks you want today or want to consider. Then we got Arizona versus Alec Marsh. I don't mind that spot. The one thing I have to say is Alec Marsh is decent. 4.25 FIP over his last 20. He also has some games where he's very, very good. So if Arizona gets some steam, becomes higher owned, there are reasons to fade it. KC versus Jordan Montgomery. Montgomery's been terrible this season. Bullpen behind him's not good. Makes some sense. This game makes some sense to me. So I definitely don't mind it. Those top 4 stacks are very good chances to be one of the better stacks of the day. Dodgers versus Jordan Hicks. Jordan Hicks has fallen off lately. He hasn't been quite as good. They're watching his pitch count a little bit, getting into that bullpen that hasn't been great. Don't mind some Dodgers. For me, it's hard to really stack the Dodgers because the back end of their lineup is so bad, but the front end is so good. So you're really needing the bad hitters to come through to make the Dodger stack happen, and it just doesn't happen very often. The best way to stack the Dodgers is the smaller mini stacks, in my opinion. Yankees versus Quintana. Fine, Yankees are good, and they can always get it done. Houston versus Beto. That's fine. He's just been decent. Houston's been a hot offense. Sean Armstrong versus Toronto, I think, is interesting. That bullpen has not been good for Tampa Bay. And if you want to reverse that, I don't mind some Tampa Bay stacks versus Barrios. 6.8 FIP over his last 5.15 over his last 20, and then a bad bullpen. I think they're a little interesting and not going to go very high owned. I think you got to also think about both the Cubs and Milwaukee, just due to the fact that we got wind blowing out in Wrigley and it's a warm game. Now, both bullpens are solid. Both pitchers are decent, so it's not quite as likely to really go off. But there's definitely a chance with that type of hitting weather. Also, Atlanta versus Nick Martinez. Now, Atlanta hasn't been that great of an offense, and I don't really love them, but I don't think Nick Martinez is that good, especially in the starter role. I think he's way better as a relief role where you're not going to get, through the lineup 2-3 times. When that tends to happen, he really falls off. So that's my worry with Nick Martinez and why I kind of like ATL. And that really is going to do it. I just want to check on Sean Armstrong because I forgot to do that prior. Yeah, like I thought, just an opener. It's pretty much what he's done all season. He is only pitching, 1-2 innings, pitched 3 days ago, so I'd be surprised if he goes over 35 pitches or so. All in all, makes Toronto a little more interesting. But that'll do it for us today. Good luck, guys. Let's win some money. Peace. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.